Week 3 in the NFL. The Eagles are in New Orleans. We are here at Parks Casino in Bensalem, where we are each and every game day for your pre- and post-game needs. Marc Farzetta, Seth Joyner, Derrick Gunn with you right here using the BetParks app. We are 20 minutes north of Center City, Philadelphia, and looking to break down Eagles-Saints from right here in Bensalem. This show presented by Pond Lehocky. After Week 3's demise at the end of the game against the Atlanta Falcons, Saquon drops it. Bad or good play call. Intercepted at the end of the game, and obviously Darius Slay taken while he's faked out of his pads against the Falcons. The Eagles are looking to put that behind them today with this Week 3 matchup against a very, very good opponent, of course, and maybe the best rushing attack in the NFL when you look at the New Orleans Saints. What will this Eagles offense and defense be able to do today? I know a lot of people have been breaking it down when it comes to this past week, and I'm going to start this question off with you, Seth Joyner. Is the sky falling?
No, not after 2 weeks.
All right.
But you know, the first pregame show, I said that I was cautiously optimistic about this football team this year. Well, the optimistic part is out the window. I'm just cautious at this moment. I really am. But you know what worries me today, D. Gunn?
Yeah.
So, I don't do a lot of betting. Every once in a while, I'll throw a little something on something. You know, it's just that thing nowadays. How in the world are the Eagles +2 in this game?
I don't get
See,
it.
that's the thing that scares me.
2.5, yeah.
Because 2.5, because
I don't get
Vegas ain't giving away money.
Sure.
And 2.5, -2.5 or +2.5, however you see it, that's a little dicey for a team that scored an average of 45.5 points per game over the last 2 games. So what gives?
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. 2.5 right now, BetParks app.
Maybe, just maybe, the casino is viewing it like this, or the betting apps are viewing it like this. Okay, they smashed the Carolina team in week 1. They basically should be playing in the CFL, okay? They went down to Dallas and stomped a mud hole in the Cowboys in their backyard, and you're left to wonder, are the Saints that good, or is Dallas's vaunted defense just that suspect? Today we find out. Today we find out a little bit more about who these Eagles are and who the Saints really are. The Saints have been putting up impressive numbers. Every possession Derek Carr has been under center this season, they have scored points. 15 possessions, 15 times the Saints have scored either a touchdown or a field goal. But again, that first game is kind of, you have to put an asterisk next to it because of who they were playing. I'm a little surprised that Eagles are favored in this game, to be honest with you, especially without A.J. in the lineup, because we talked about how the lack of A.J. in that offense changes the dynamic of what they want to run and how they want to scheme a defense. Now they're going to go down there and play a pretty good New Orleans defense and an offense that's having a lot of success. So, Seth, that's a great valid point you brought up. To me, it's a huge question mark for both teams in terms of who's who. In terms of what we can expect moving forward.
Well, just for clarification, the Saints are at -2.5 as the favorite in this.
Oh, they're favored.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're favored. But yeah, on the other side of it, I think our point is, how is it that close? When we look at it from the perspective of an Eagles perspective, you're watching a team going up against Alvin Kamara, which I know everyone's looking at right now as an absolute shot out of a cannon running back right now.
Right.
Whether it's catching the football out of the backfield, whether it's running through a defensive line, I think that's what most people are looking at. And Seth, I had the same question. I know they're not giving away money in the betting world. So what am I missing here about this Eagles defense? When you listen to a guy, especially this week in Jalen Carter, who when talking about his own game, described his own game as, quote, trash. I don't think that many people would necessarily disagree with that. Everybody on this Eagles defensive line needs to step up their game, especially, and we've gone over this now 3 weeks, nobody's coming to save these young players as they're looking to establish their own legacy right now in the NFL. First off, let me ask you that. How would you describe Jalen Carter's play so far this season?
Well, I wouldn't describe it as trash. Listen, the expectations are high. We expect for these first-round draft picks at the defensive tackle position to dominate. The truth of the matter is Jalen Carter is the best defensive tackle that the Eagles have. And guess what? He's going to get double-teamed almost every single time that they can double-team him. Now, let's talk about fronts. And this is something I picked up in film this past week. The defensive end or the rush positions are so anemic that teams are now taking a tight end and blocking our defensive ends one-on-one, and which is allowing the guard center and the guard tackle to the tight end side to double team both tackles. That can't happen, because if you get a rush guy or a defensive end on a tight end, he's supposed to dominate. He's supposed to dominate to the level that it forces them to bring that tackle over to help. Whether we're talking about in the run game or the pass game, it has to be that way. So if you're going to double both guys in the four-man front, well, guess what? They're going to be non-productive unless your linebackers are fast-flowing and getting downhill like right now, which our linebackers don't do. They kind of play sideways and then they try to come. So what's really killing them in the run game is the stretch play, because the tackles aren't attacking the line of scrimmage and getting penetration, and the linebackers are running horizontal because they're trying to figure out where he's going to cut it back. I saw an interesting clip this week about this offense that Clint Kubiak is running. Whole breakdown from Mike Shanahan, the tree, all the way down. And it's a staple of what they do. They run the stretch one way, the stretch the other way, and the quarterback, the running back rather, he can hit it front side, he can hit it outside, he can cut it back, he can cut it all the way back. Like, there's no determination where he's supposed to hit the hole. He can cut it back anywhere he wants to. So what has to happen is the linemen have to get in their gap and form a wall. The linebackers have to fit where they're supposed to fit and form a wall. And it really should only be one hole where either the strong safety or the free safety has to fill for the cutback on the backside. Now, you got a wall across, and if everybody's doing their job, now you can somewhat get it taken care of. But if your linebackers continue to run horizontal to the line of scrimmage and they're not attacking downhill, and then you're getting double teams and both defensive tackles are getting pushed off the ball, you're never going to be able to stop the run.
All right, so you look at it like that, Gunnar, what do you say?
My biggest concern is the edge, lack of edge containment. The end and the outside backer have to find a way. If you look at the success that the team had against running against them last week, they were able to get a blocker to the outside shoulder and push them to the inside, and they ran that stretch all day. Outside containment has to find a way to get leverage to get his body to the outside, force him back to the inside, and hopefully he's got help coming back. Haven't seen that. That's happened the first 2 weeks. Green Bay did the same thing, and I thought Vic Fangio would have corrected it. They allowed the opponent last week to do the same doggone thing. So what did Vic Fangio say this week when he was asked, what do you guys have to do to correct this? They have to play better. Now, obviously, he's being very vague. Now he's not going to give us 10. But if that is the answer that he's going to give and they play worse today, we got a problem, because you know what's going to happen next week? Tampa Bay's going to do the same thing. Why wouldn't they?
Well, listen, I tell you this. If the Eagles can't control the run,
right,
then they can't compete defensively.
No.
That's just a fact. I don't care what they try to do, blitzing, pass rush, it's non-consequential if you can't get the run under control. That's just a fact. And to your point about being able to keep contained, and we talked about it, a technical flaw. When you watch Bryce Huff, they line up 2 tight ends, and they put him in the gap, and he had his outside foot up, okay? So the natural tendency is if the right foot is up and the left foot is back,
right,
the first step you're going to take is with the left foot. So now you've stepped into the tight end that's on the ball. This guy's just blocking down on you,
right,
and you're going to lose the edge,
right,
okay? I've been saying it forever. You watch these guys, they line up. He is playing with a right-hand stance on the left side of the ball. And if vice versa, you see Josh Sweat on the other side playing with a left-hand stance on the right side. Now, I told you, it's not going to be one of those situations where it's a problem all the time, but when it is, it's a big problem. And when they line up 2 tight ends like they did last week, and you line him up in the crease, and he's wrong foot up, he's going to lose the edge every single time. Every single time. Because he's always going to step into the gap. And now we call it stepping in the bucket. He steps in the bucket, and the only way he can get back outside, he got to step in the bucket to turn his body and get outside. And it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer all day long. But if you coach your players, D,
that's right,
to stand the proper way at all times, and that's important to the structure of your defense, then guess what? He doesn't get hooked. Now, he might have a fight on his hands because he's got 2 tight ends there, but he won't get hooked.
That's right.
To stay on that point, Vic Fangio was also asked during his press conference about whether or not he has the right personnel to execute what he wants executed. He said, yes. Well, why do you feel that way? Because I've seen them play. It's been 2 weeks, and it hasn't been that impressive so far, Seth Joyner. Do they have the personnel to execute what you want them to do?
He actually said, I've seen them play?
I've seen them play, because I've seen them play. And I'm like, it's been 2 weeks. You're basing a lot after a joint practice.
Well, let me tell you this. There have been some spots where they've been good. Particularly, we go back to week 1, the first 2 series. The Eagles offense turns it over twice. What do? They step up. They get the stop. They only give up 6 points. And in my opinion, those 2 drives were the difference in the game. Because if they score 14 there, it's highly likely that the Eagles probably don't win that football game, okay? Last week, there's a series of 2 where they played well. I don't like the way that they play pass defense, Now, that's saying a lot, because I don't like the way that they play run defense, and I don't like the fact that they don't get any pressure on the quarterback. So now I'm throwing into that mix that I don't like the way that they play pass defense. Now, I thought they played great pass defense in the first game because they played more aggressive. They got up, they challenged guys at the line of scrimmage, they played some man-to-man, but I don't know, that was like Jonathan Gannon and Sean Desai all over again that last drive where they go 6 plays, 70 yards, and snatch victory out of the jaws of defeat last week. I didn't understand. That you're just not going to blitz him at all. You're not going to fight. You're not going to give your guys put your guys in a position whatsoever where they have a chance to win. You're just going to keep giving up real estate as you go. That dumbfounded me. So that quote, I've seen them play. Yeah, I've seen them play too. And if they keep playing the way they're playing, it's going to be a long, darn year, D.
What do you expect a defensive coordinator to say at this point of a season? He can't trash anybody. And when I listen to coaches talk nowadays, it goes back to what former players have told me time and time again, that you need 53 different psychologists to coach a lot of these kids, and you have to be somewhat concerned what you say about these guys. Seth Joyner's era, A coach come down on you, you suck it up like a man, you play ball. You go out and play ball, or you curl up and go home. Nowadays, you got to babysit these guys, not physically, but emotionally in a lot of ways. 2 games into a season, your DC can't just trash guys, like they did back in the old days. So with that said, I don't believe that he believes that he has the personnel to run exactly what he wants to run. Now, he handpicked a number of these guys during the offseason, free agency, the draft, so on and so forth. He helped handpick them. But obviously it's not panning out right now. And with the younger players, it's going to possibly take up to a half season before they truly get acclimated to what he wants them to do in the system. Now, if you have that problem on week 7, week 8, it's going to be, like Seth said, it's going to be a long, demoralizing campaign in 2024.
I agree with you. A defense coordinator can only call the things that he can trust his players to actually run. So you practice. Why? You practice to ingrain the things that you want to do and the successes that you want to have on the field. But if you run a blitz 5 times in practice during the week, and each guy, there's a different guy every time that hits the wrong gap or your cornerback gets beat. Well, guess what? When a defensive coordinator go into a game and he's sitting there looking at his sheet and he sees that blitz, the first thing that comes to mind is that half the guys don't know what the hell they're doing, and I can't trust my corner. Oh, let's play sticks defense. And sometimes, sometimes you gotta give Vic the benefit of the doubt that potentially is what's going on, is that he can't trust the guy. Now, if you can't trust the players on your team to do the things that you're trying to get them to do, there's just simply certain things in your defense that you cannot run.
It seems like that could be a Howie Roseman problem that's become Vic Fangio's problem, which then becomes all our problem as people that like to see the Philadelphia Eagles do pretty well this season. We'll continue to break it down, including the rest of this coaching staff. Nick Sirianni, how big the piece of the pie does he have in all this? That's when we return. This is the BetParks pregame show here from Parks Casino, presented by Lehocky. And here at Parks Casino, they feature over 200,000 square feet of gaming and sports wagering. That also includes over 3,000 slots. Back in a second.
When you open the BetParks app, you're in the zone. Winning is always a rush, but the money is in the moments. It's the anticipation of another face card, the thrill of an extra spin, and the pure joy of a jackpot. It's all your favorite games at your fingertips. Plus, get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. You play for fun, you love to win. You bet. BetParks.
At Pond Lehocky Giordano, we understand the impact an injury can have on your life. Our experienced attorneys have recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we know we can do the same for you. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured at work, give Pond Lehocky a call.
This is Seth Joyner, top analyst for the Birds. I've also analyzed the best auto dealerships, and I drive a Davis Honda.
Get to Davis Honda now and fall into savings. Lease a new 2024 Prologue EV for just $299 per month. See why Davis Honda continues to win outstanding awards for sales and service, including the highest award from Honda, the President's Award, 2 years in a row. Fall into savings right now at Davis Honda. Feel the Davis difference at Davis Honda in Burlington.
I'm Seth Joyner, and I drive a Davis Honda.
I'm back in my bag, I'm wrecking the wins and it's making them.
You've got your Sunday obsession, and we got you. Now with Verizon, get NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube TV on us and get every out-of-market Sunday game. Plus $800 off Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6. Only on Verizon.
See you Sunday.
Welcome back to Parks Casino in Bensalem, just 20 minutes north of Center City, Philadelphia, on Street Road in Bensalem, Bucks County. Breaking it down ahead of Eagles Saints Week 3 in the NFL. Marc Farzetta, Seth Joyner, Derrick Gunn with you. Gunner, I'm going to start with you in this segment. Nick Sirianni did not address the team. A lot was made of that following the Eagles' loss to the Falcons in Week 2. This is a coach that no longer is part of the game plan. He's no longer he's no longer calling plays. He's supposed to be here to be emotionally intelligent. Doesn't address the team, leaves it up to his quarterback. How warm, how hot is the seat right now of Nick Sirianni after a 1-1 start to the season?
It's above lukewarm.
Above lukewarm.
Above lukewarm. I'll put it like that. And fans' patience only goes so far. But there was no need for Sirianni to say anything to the team after the game. His quarterback, his $250 million quarterback expressed his exact sentiment. So what are you going to do? Just reiterate what the quarterback said? He's the leader of your team, right? So then he should have the leeway to address the team. The coach doesn't always have to address the team. Sometimes words are more impactful from the guys who are in the trenches with you, more so than the guys standing on the sideline. It's more meaningful. So I have no problem with Sirianni not talking to the guys after the team. Now, if he felt that Jalen Hurts left something out that should have been stated, then by all means, he steps up as the head man in charge and fills in the gap. But according to Nick, and we have to take him for his word, Jalen said exactly everything I was going to say. There was no need for me to follow up.
All right, what'd you make of him not addressing the team and actually having your franchise quarterback do that job for him?
Well, listen, if he's the unmitigated leader of the football team, there's times where his voice needs to be heard. But the other thing is, too, as a leader, if you're going to be chirping, you better be producing. If you're not producing, then it falls on deaf ears, and then you create these factions where guys are like, well, man, he up in here telling us we should have did this and we got to do this and we, keep our minds right. And every time we turn around, he turning the ball over. I mean, those are the types of things that happen in a locker room that can fracture a locker room. So Nick has got to be careful about the times that he allows Jalen to step up, and speak to the team.
Now, this is one of the things that I take away from last week. Well, really last year. A lot of people, and this is why I put so much emphasis on week one, and I asked you guys the question, has there never been more pressure on a week one than was week one against the Packers this year? Because I felt if you lost that game, then right away people were going to go to the sky is falling. All the problems from 2023 have carried over to 2024. Well, here they are after their first loss of the season. And I know Saquon catches that ball. We're talking about how great this football team is, and the sky is the limit. But it has become a question in the locker room. Brandon Graham was asked about it this week. I know Reed Blankenship was asked about it this week. The problems of 2023 and the feeling and the vibes of 2023 carrying over to 2024. Everyone that was asked about it shook it off and said there's no way that carries over. Is it possible, Seth, for one struggling year to carry over into another if just a few things start to not go their way? For example, interceptions from your quarterback.
That's an interesting question because I was just thinking about that. I was thinking about that earlier this week, that one of the reasons why you don't fire Nick Sirianni is because he's got a 34-17 record. He's been in the playoffs 3 years in a row, and he's been to a Super Bowl and lost one. So how do you justify, getting rid of a coach? Where are you going to find a coach with a better resume at this point in time? And then when you look over the last, 9 games, they're 2-7?
2-7, yeah.
So as great as that record looked before, now you flip the last 9 games and it doesn't look so good. Now you begin to look at it from a different perspective. Absolutely. There are some things that you can put in your pocket and bring with you from one season to the next. It's up to the leaders, to kind of change that mindset and the conversation that goes on around it. Last year is last year. This is a new year. And listen, it's just week 2. It doesn't look good because of how inept the defense looks in so many areas. It doesn't look good because, your number one player on the offense is injured and your quarterback at times feels like he's got to be Superman in order for you to win. But I don't think that there's a carryover with this team from one year to the next because you got so many new faces. Like, all the new starters that you got on the defensive side of the ball, those guys didn't experience any of that stuff last year. They know about it. They've heard about it. We keep reminding them of it. But at the end of the day, those guys didn't experience that. They weren't a part of that. So it's hard for me to believe that there's this carryover. I just think that they've got to play better football. They've got to be better fundamentally. They've got to be better technically. The coaches have got to do a better job of putting them in better positions. And I think that, Nick has got to make better decisions. Like, kick the field goal the first time you get in scoring position. Your team went 15 plays, 57 yards. They walked away with nothing. From a psychological standpoint, what do you think that did to his offense? That's an energy drainer. At least if you get the field goal, they're like, well, we got something out of it. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, the lead.
Well,
at that point, yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's little things like that. You know, I understand the analytics, and I understand he's got a guy in his ear that's telling him what to do. But sometimes you got to understand the psychological side of 53 or 48 guys on game day, and every decision you make, how that affects them from a psychological standpoint.
Let me just say this. Looking at or listening to Nick Sirianni's press conference, the first time he addressed the media after the loss, he said a lot of the same things that I've heard you guys say, I've heard fans say, I've said as well, which is the analytic part of football is a little piece. And I think the worst thing analytics ever did was name itself, because all it is information. It's very in-depth information, but you either decide as a coach, what's the feel of this game? If I get this first down with Saquon Barkley running it to the outside, or excuse me, trying to catch a pass on the outside, the game's over. Forget the analytic hit at the end of the game.
I disagree with that, D-Gun, because
that is not just a little piece.
It's much bigger. I mean, he wants to minimize it, okay, but it's so much bigger because we know that to be the fact. Listen, when Fox and CBS and ESPN and every other broadcasting network that shows an NFL game begins to put a little clip down the right-hand side of the screen that gives you the probabilities of going for it or not going for it, it's taken over in the game. It's a bigger piece of the game than what he wants to make it out to be. And we know that the Philadelphia Eagles and every other organization spend millions upon millions of dollars for that information and give the head data analytics guy a say in your ear during the game to give you advice about what you should do. So it's not a small piece. Right. It's not a small piece. You know, and the fact that we've moved from, like, some of the decisions that these NFL head coaches are making nowadays, back in my day, were unfathomable. You would never do that. You would never take that chance. What has changed people's perspectives and what have changed organizations' minds, D-Gun, to put them in a position where they now think that that's the right thing to do? When before it was like a cardinal sin. Nothing but data analytics. So don't tell me it's a small part. It's a major part of everything that they do, from who they draft and why they draft them, who they sign and who they don't sign, who they hire as a head coach, as a DC and so on, and who they don't. It's a big part.
You look at the number of young coaches across the National Football League right now, and as Seth was alluding to, the millions of dollars that is spent on analytics. And I've gone on record for a number of years saying I hate analytics. In pro sports in a lot of ways. I think it affects the thought process, especially in crucial situations. Look at the body language of coaches on the sideline when they start flipping through their charts and stuff like this. They're indecisive in a lot of ways, and in some cases they're forced to take an unnecessary timeout because everybody's not on the same page. The personnel grouping, you get players coming in and out, all of a sudden you got 12, 13 men on the field because nobody knows exactly who's supposed to be on the field, what the exact play is called. And I think it affects the overall flow of what an offense or a defense, for that matter, is trying to do in terms of thwart an offense or expose a deficiency in a defense.
D-Gun, I'll tell you this. Just think about this, because these are things that people don't think about sometimes. Think about how aggressive Vic Fangio was in Week 1, and how the lack of aggression, how much less aggressive he was in Week 2. Now, you look at the explosive plays on defense in Week 1. Now, if the Eagles organization makes it a mandate or put the priority on, we need explosive plays, we need big plays down the field, well, then the analytics has to say that the other end of the spectrum, we want to be less aggressive on the defensive side to kind of not give up those explosive plays on that side of the field. So we're going to bend but don't break between the 20s. And then we want to bow our neck once we get in the red zone. So maybe that has something to do with why we saw a less aggressive Vic Fangio down the stretch than what we saw in Week 1.
And let's face it, both Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie are big analytics people. So you don't think that's the message is coming down from the ivory tower in terms of this is how we want to run our team? Now, I will say this also. Some teams, the analytics works flawlessly, but other teams, it's like riding the waves of a storm. Sometimes the storm's rough. Sometimes, there's calm seas. There's inconsistencies with analytics. Very few have perfected it to the point where they've had more success than failure.
So just to go back to his point, I think what he was reiterating was how a lot of people feel, which is, it should be a small piece because it should be about the way the game's playing out, whether or not you're actually stopping their offense, whether or not you're actually be able to run through their defense. I think that was more to his point, where in his mind, he was saying what I would want a coach to say, which is it isn't everything, it's a small piece of it. But you're right. That's not the way the teams have invested in the NFL.
No.
Now, real quick on some news here. The inactives, of course, are out. Devin White not active today for the Eagles. A.J. Brown not active as we kind of expected. But real quick, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, foot injury in practice this week. Second straight week, the Eagles have suffered an injury, unfortunately, at practice leading up to a game. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson looks like he will give it a go. Gunnar, what have you heard? What can we expect from him?
Yeah, I was told on Friday and again this morning that he is good to go. It's a minor irritation with the foot injury. He very nonchalantly decided not to talk to the media on Friday. He packed up his bag and told him, I'll see you Sunday down in New Orleans. So people thought that was a little bit strange, like he was trying to hide something, but I was assured that the foot injury is not a problem pregame. So he will be out there in the field today against the Saints.
Seth, Nick Sirianni was asked about going up against his former team for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, and Nick said, I'm the last person to tell anyone not to be emotional. How emotional is it going up against a former team like this for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson?
Listen, it is. I mean, I can remember the first time I came back to the vet, after going to Arizona. And, Buddy made the decision that he was going to introduce the defense that day. Oh, Lord. Clyde and I both got booed down there out of the stadium, I mean, listen, I get it. I understood. But there is that emotional component, because you want that team to know that they made a mistake. It's no different from me,
Right.
I was drafted in the 8th round. So I had 30 teams that I wanted to prove wrong 7 different times. You understand what I'm saying? 8 different times.
Yeah.
8 rounds. You had 8 rounds where you could have picked me and you decided not to. I'm going to make you pay. So I understand that sentiment 100%, that he wants to go down there and show them what a mistake that they've made. And I expect for him to go down there, and if he says that his foot's okay, I'll see you in New Orleans. Step up and play. I don't care what you got to do to that foot.
Fair enough. All right.
If he got to go see Miss Rudolph,
That's right.
while he down there in New Orleans, you go do what you got to do.
Fair enough.
Get some of that Cajun voodoo put on their foot.
There you go.
Easy enough. All right, when we come back, we're going to take a look at one of the rookies on this team that has had a great start to his season through the first 2 weeks, and somebody it looks like the Eagles will be able to depend on for his career. We'll be back in a second with the BetParks pregame show from Parks Casino, brought to you by Pond Lehocky. And if you're looking to get in on the action today, come on down to the Sportsbook here at Parks Casino in Bensalem and have yourself a great time.
And the next thing I knew, I woke up in a hospital bed.
Has a friend ever told you a story about an accident and someone says,
you should probably sue them.
Forget your friend. Call Lehocky Giordano.
We're an injury law firm that's recovered billions of dollars for our clients.
And with our vast network of attorneys throughout the country, we know we can do the same for you.
So if you've been injured in an accident, give Lehocky a call.
One conversation is all it takes, and you won't pay a dime until we win.
Most people don't know how to get the care they need. The experts at Stay at Home Care can help. Before choosing a caregiver or family member for your care, you need to apply for the home care program. The application process can be complicated. Stay at Home Care can help you navigate through every step. Once approved, your caregiver or family member will receive guaranteed weekly pay, a variety of medical benefits options, paid holidays, paid vacation, and overtime pay. Call Stay at Home Care, here to help every step of the way.
The Excite Center at Parks Casino, the region's hottest live entertainment venue. Check out your favorite concerts, comedy, boxing, MMA, all at the #1 casino in Pennsylvania. Don't miss Funny Man JB Smoove on Saturday, September 14th, plus Straight No Chaser on Friday, October 18th. Don't miss these 2 exciting headliners, only at the Excite Center inside Parks Casino. Parks Casino, this is how you win. Tickets on sale now.
Since 1893, Weber Display and Packaging has been Pennsylvania's leading manufacturer of corrugated packaging and displays. We're family-owned with 4 Philadelphia locations, 2 converting facilities, a warehouse, and a fulfillment center. Designed through delivery, we exceed customer needs. Weber Display and Packaging. Our core values drive everything we do. Come, join our team.
This upcoming segment brought to you by Pond Lehocky. Welcome back, Parks Casino in Ben Salem, just 20 minutes north of Philadelphia. Mark your calendars, ladies and gentlemen, for all the great events they have going on here at Parks Casino. Make sure you check out betParks.com as well for all the great wagering and Parks Sportsbook. One rookie that has really stood out, and not even just rookie, but one of the younger players, of course, on the Eagles, has been first-round pick Quenyon Mitchell. We could talk a lot about this Eagles run defense, and we will. We'll continue to talk about the linebackers as well, but really, Quenyon Mitchell really has looked like a guy that has been playing in the league for years now. Physical, aggressive, obviously competitive. If he breaks up a play, he lets the receiver know about it as well, other than just taking that football away or swatting it away. What I have seen from him to start out his young career has been very impressive, Seth. He looks like a guy you can really hang your hat on and trust for an upcoming career here.
Well, he's going to be the starting left corner, from this point moving forward. And I find it, very odd, D-Gun, in pressurized situations, who a quarterback attacks. They didn't go after the rookie for the touchdown last week. They went after Slay. Yeah. Now, I'm looking at this thing, and there's a couple of things here. You're not supposed to lose your starting job because of injury. That's been an NFL rule forever. But Isaiah Rodgers hurt his hand, come back the second week, the rookie's still in there because he's been playing well. Okay, so now you got Devin White, who was the starting linebacker all preseason, all through camp, and all of a sudden we get to week one, Nakobe Dean beat him out. Devin White can't even get on the active list. I don't understand. At least throw him on some special teams or something. Dude, that bad that he can't be up active, and you give him some plays, in the game somewhere. I just, there's a lot going on here, and it's kind of the same thing with Isaiah Rodgers. Here's a guy that you went and you brought in, you signed while he was suspended, you penciled him in as your starter. He's been your starter all through OTAs, training camp, preseason, and just because of a hand injury that kept him out 1 week, now he can't get back on the field. And I tell you this, from my perspective, Darius Slay better start stepping up, because if he don't, Isaiah Rodgers is going to get slid in over there on the other side, and those are going to be your two starting cornerbacks.
Let me ask you, so watching the All-22, and Gunnar, I know you heard the same thing. When it comes to Darius Slay, he said he got caught looking in the backfield on that Drake London touchdown against the Falcons. It looked to me he just got faked out of his pads.
How do you get – there's no way – you're a man-to-man coverage. There's no help. The only help is the end zone, okay? And if you got that guy man-to-man, what are you looking in the backfield for? Because if they run the ball, you're not a factor. Your only job is to cover that guy that's in front of you. So that excuse about looking in the backfield, nobody I've ever seen play man-to-man. I don't care whether you playing outside technique or whether you playing inside technique. I've never seen somebody in man-to-man coverage, that's looking in the backfield. I'm covering my guy. Even when my back is turned, I'm looking at my guy. I'm not looking to see where the ball is coming until his eyes get as big as saucers. Darius Slay knows that, man. That's a damn excuse.
If you look at the film, though, his head was to the inside when Drake broke it outside. Look, he was looking towards the inside.
Why, though?
I agree, but I'm just saying that's the only part that's truthful in terms of I don't know if he had duped on the play action or what, but he was looking to the inside. London gave him a little inside move, broke it to the outside. Good night, game over. Now, the 34-year-old corner, you got to be smarter than that. You've been around the league a long time.
He's been around too long. Yeah. And listen, there's no reason why, and I know that he has the option. There's no way in hell I'm playing 5 yards off of a wide receiver that I give up 5 inches to. I'm trying to get up in his chest, and I'm trying to at least get the one jam and force his release outside. Because you're man coverage. There's nothing else, okay? So, I mean, even he's got no business even playing outside technique. But the point that you made, he was inside, and he was looking at the quarterback. Yeah. So he was positioned properly, but why are you off the ball 5 yards? You know the game is on the line. The clock is ticking. I'm up, and I'm challenging the wide receiver, and I'm going to make the quarterback either throw a back shoulder throw, which if I'm in proper phase that I can play it perfectly, or I'm going to make him throw the perfect fade route in the end zone. But I'm not giving him anything on the inside. I'm forcing the ball to where I know that's the only place he can throw it.
In that situation, my question is why are you giving a wide receiver outside leverage, period, especially a receiver taller than you? Because whether they throw the lob or the back shoulder throw, you're at a disadvantage to begin with. When you're that much shorter than the guy you're covering, you want every advantage possible you can get, whatever that case may be. You got to push him back to the inside and hopefully somebody gives you inside help.
But not in that situation, D. Gunn.
You don't want him to the outside.
Listen, you want him outside.
You want to give him outside leverage?
Yeah, your 12th guy
is the sideline.
Your 12th guy is the sideline, okay? And if you play your technique properly and you're in phase, now, and when I say in phase, I wish I could demonstrate it to people so they can understand what I'm saying, okay? If I'm inside technique, so this is inside, the receiver's here, okay? If I jam him and I force him to release inside and now I roll with him, I'm rolling with him this way to where this part of my body, I'm feeling your body with my left hand. You understand what I'm saying? And as long as I can feel you, I'm in phase, I'm inside, I'm in the passing window. So I'm looking, now I can look back at the quarterback because I got you where I want you from a technical standpoint. Okay, now as I look, the back shoulder, boom, I can knock it down. You understand what I'm saying? If you throw the fade, I can force your body out of bounds just by my position. But if I let him inside, that slant route, if he plays outside technique, that's the easiest throw in football. And he's bigger than he is, so all he's going to do is just box him out. It's an automatic touchdown.
My concern is there's so many of these quarterback/receiver combinations nowadays that they're so good at these back shoulder throws nowadays, it's almost uncoverable in a lot of situations.
If you're technically flawed, and
most DBs are.
Well,
most DBs are flawed.
But that's my point. I agree with you if that's the case. But if you got a cornerback that knows what he's doing, you seen that interception in week 1, the kid from Cincinnati with the one-handed catch. The only reason he was in position to make that play because he did exactly what I'm describing. Okay, he got up, he jammed the receiver, forced him outside, and now he got in phase. And because you're in phase and you're positioned the way you're supposed to be positioned, guess what? You can turn and look for the ball. If he's not, when you see PI penalties, the reason why you see him is because guys act like they're afraid. They're either beat or they're afraid to get beat. Okay, but if I get up and I jam and I play with proper technique and I'm not afraid of the guy's speed to run away from me, then I'm in phase. Well, I can cover anybody. You can, but to your point, if you're technically flawed and you don't know how to do that, well, guess what? You don't have the tools in your toolbox to succeed.
No. I want to see cornerbacks turn receivers in and have a safety cheat over because it narrows the lane for a quarterback to throw a football. And I think you have a better chance. Think about it. Most receivers nowadays are taller than cornerbacks anyway, and they're faster. And you look at a lot of these receivers with these hesitation moves that they have nowadays. DBs can't cover most of these guys in one-on-one situations. So what do? Have a safety slide open, close that window, and maybe get a hand on it, bat it down, or more importantly, step in front of him, pick it off, and change the complexion of a game.
Well, I think in the field, that's doable. When you're down on the goal line like that, you ain't getting no help, man. Everybody's man-to-man across the board. You know, and if that's the case, then that's a period in time where you really have to be technically and fundamentally sound. That's where it shows up the most. That's where you see the great cornerbacks in this league and the ones that suffer. Because the ones that suffer, they're going to be face guarding a guy like this, and then you're going to hit the back shoulder fade, or he's going to jump up over top of him and moss him. The ones that are really good, they're going to be in phase and they're technically sound, and they can, from the position of being in phase, they can play either route. They can play the fade route, they can play the back shoulder route, and they can stop it.
So we've mentioned Alvin Kamara, and we'll talk more about him, of course, in our final segment leading into the game, obviously, but we'll also talk about the linebacking core. But to keep it on the cornerbacks here, fellas, these aren't exactly bad receivers the Eagles are facing tonight, unfortunately. And you're facing today a veteran quarterback in Derek Carr, who's also off to a very good start to the season. Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed are pretty damn good wide receivers as well. So when you look at that position matchup, I know, Seth, you talked about your concern earlier just about the defense in general. How concerned are you when it comes to the cornerback matchup against those receivers?
I'm not, because I think that the young guy handles himself properly. Like, he gets up and he challenges wide receivers where he needs to. He plays his off techniques the way he needs to. I kind of get the sense that, for Darius Slay to go on social media and say, my fault, Philly, to own that, I think that he's going to step up today. The question is just going to be, does Vic have the confidence to put him in situations where, they're in man coverage? Because I'm telling you right now, the only way that they're going to be able to stop the run, they're either going to have to drop an extra guy in the box or they're going to have to play a 5-man front. And if they get into the 5-man front, then that means that 50% of the time they're going to have to play man. Or they're going to have to play 5 and you're going to have to drop, you're either going to have to drop Huff or Smith on the weak side because you can't drop Josh Sweat. You can't. So if that's the case, then yeah, these guys are going to they'll step up. I think that Darius is going to play a better game today than he's played the first 2 weeks. He's looked real timid to me. Like, it's funny. I was doing Irvin Fryer's podcast earlier this week, and we were talking about Darius Slay and the mindset of players. There's this thing among players, like. When my career was over, I knew it was over probably in year 11. Mm-hmm. By the time I got to the end of year 11, I'm like, I'm on a precipitous slide down the hill.
Yeah.
So what we talk about is, okay, you play at your maximum as long as you can, and then you a couple of years, okay? And it's funny because I was telling Irv, I said, you know what? Darius Slay is in stealing mode right now. Because when I watch him play, everything is like real timid. Like he's trying to push people out of bounds. He ain't trying to hit nobody. I saw him around the pile one time. He kind of pity-patting the pile, But every once in a while, what's in you sometimes rises to the top. And knowing, how inefficient he was last week and how he played, I really get the sense that, we're going to see the old Slay for at least for one day today.
33, 34 years old. I think in the back of his mind he realizes Father Time is knocking at his door right now. I got a bad feeling we're going to see these DBs play a little bit more off coverage instead of press coverage against these Saints wide receivers. Because I watched these Saints wide receivers fly past what I think is a decent secondary down in Dallas last week, and they hit them for some big strikes down there. And I think Fangio, still unsure of what exactly he has in his defensive concepts, is going to give a little bit more cushion underneath. The mindset's going to keep it in front of you. Don't let it get behind you. Now, at some point, Quinion Mitchell, he's a young DB. He wants to test me. He goes, look, man, I'm going to bump and run with these guys. Hopefully it plays itself out. But when you look at Chris Olave and Rashid, they ain't no joke down there. And all of a sudden, for whatever reason, in Clint Kubiak's offense, Derek Carr has been reborn.
Hey, listen, if the Eagles have any designs on winning today, there's going to come situations in this game where they're going to have to play aggressive. You cannot sit back. You just can't. I mean, because this offense is averaging, 45 and a half points a game, And you let them get rolling. Everything is off of their play action pass. So when they're running the ball, that brings, the play action alive. Once it's alive, like Derek Carr, even when I think his quarterback rating last week was 58.3 on dropback passes. You want to know why that was? Because they were running the ball so efficiently, and all the play action stuff that they were doing was so efficient that when they decided to drop back, there was no pass rush whatsoever. So he could sit back there and cherry pick. Oh, who do I want to go to? The first, second, or third guy in the progression. That's just the way it is. That's the importance of being able to control the run. If you can't control it, it's going to be a long day. I know because I've been there. I lived this. I'm trying to tell you, there's nothing more demoralizing than when a team is running the ball down your throat and there ain't nothing you can do about it.
All I heard was Seth, let's see, Darius Slay in stealing time. He's in stealing time.
Stealing mode.
I got it.
Listen,
stealing mode, yeah.
Every great, as a professional player, we all know when Father Time is like tapping us on the shoulder.
That's right.
We know. Exactly. It happened for me in year 11. I was lined up against a tight end, and in my mind, I had outside shade, and I said, he gonna try to reach me. He gonna try to reach me. My mind is saying this before the ball is snapped. Hut! He reaches me. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, Lord. Because my reaction time had slowed down significantly.
Sure.
I mean, I seen the day where I would have broke his neck if I'd have known that that's where he was going.
Yeah.
But when your reaction time slows down and the way your eyes see things, but your body ain't responding the way that it used to respond. You know that like in Blazing Saddles, the end is near.
There's an old saying I like to use when it says, the mind says go and the body says no. That's when you know.
Absolutely.
I know everybody's gonna say the sheriff is near, but I ad-libbed that.
I got you.
The end is near.
I understand. I understand. All right. When we come back, we're gonna give our key matchups as well as our predictions for Eagles Saints Week 3 this afternoon down in the Big Easy. And don't forget about the incredible Beer Garden, one of the great places you can enjoy a beverage and some food here at Parks Casino in Bensalem. Parks offers 10 food and beverage outlets from quick service to dining. That's fine dining, a $5 happy hour at the Liberty Bell Gastro Pub as well as the Beer Garden. Back in a few.
Let's go. I'm back in my bag. I'm wrecking the wins and it's making them.
You've got your Sunday obsession, and we got you. Now with Verizon, get NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube TV on us and get every out-of-market Sunday game. Plus $800 off Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6. Only on Verizon.
See you Sunday. At Revolution X, we know that fortunes are made in times of uncertainty. Are you selling your investment real estate? Are you interested in deferring your tax with a 1031 exchange? At RevX, we're experts in 1031 exchange planning and the use of passive real estate options using DSTs. Not in the midst of an exchange and want to invest in real estate but don't know where to start? Revolution X has institutional-grade real estate options for any size investor right now. Set up a consultation at RevXWealth.com. RevX, defer the tax, maximize the gain.
Pride, passion, and persistence. These are the values that drive us all at Ron Jaworski Golf. We strive to deliver outstanding conditions as well as playability for golfers of all ages and abilities. Our championship golf courses offer a variety of challenges from a link-style walk along the river to an escape into the pines and everything in between. My team at Ron Jaworski Golf is committed to delivering memorable experiences every single day. See all we do at ronjaworskigolf.com.
Most people don't know how to get the care they need. The experts at Stay at Home Care can help. Before choosing a caregiver or family member for your care, you need to apply for the Home Care Program. The application process can be complicated. Stay at Home Care can help you navigate through every step. Once approved, your caregiver or family member will receive guaranteed weekly pay, a variety of medical benefits options, paid holidays, paid vacation, and overtime pay. Call Stay at Home Care, here to help every step of the way.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Verizon. Welcome back, Parks Casino in Bensalem, just 20 minutes north of Center City, Philadelphia, ahead of Week 3's matchup in New Orleans between your Philadelphia Eagles and the New Orleans Saints. Lots been made of this game, whether or not the Eagles, of course, can bounce back against this Saints team. And the name we keep on hearing from the Saints is Alvin Kamara. And the Eagles are going into this game right now, unfortunately, with one of the worst run defenses in the NFL. We've talked about how Jalen Carter himself has even talked about his own game as, quote, trash. Well, now is the time to step up. If you really believe that there is no Fletcher Cox, no veteran, nobody else on this roster right now that is willing to come and save this defensive line, then you have to believe in Jalen Carter stepping up. You have to believe in Jordan Davis stepping up. And you have to look at two other guys that I think to this point have stepped up rather well this season, Milton Williams and also Thomas Booker IV. These are guys that not a lot of people were talking about that would be the guys, but so far to this point, they have been the guys and not your first-round draft picks. What do you need to see when it comes to the matchup, Seth Joyner, looking at this defensive line, this rush defense as a whole, taking on Alvin Kamara today?
I need to see meritocracy rule today. If Jordan Davis and for periods, Jalen Carter aren't living up to it, then give these other guys a chance to play. There's nothing that motivates players better or more than taking away playing time if they're not getting the job done. If somebody's getting the job done and they're playing with a whole lot of want to, then give them some more playing time. It increases their confidence, but it'll also, you'll find out what it does to the guy who is the starter. Because the guy who is the starter, if he doesn't respond with some fire, now you know what you're dealing with. You know, I always felt like my playing time, my position, if I'm the starter, it belongs to me. You know, I'm not giving up any of my reps because this fool may be in here and get one of my interceptions or one of my sacks. So I'm not trying to give up any of my reps whatsoever. I get the game is different now, and guys only play X amount of plays. But you got to figure out a way to motivate your players to do what's necessary. If they're not giving you what you need as a coach, then you got to figure out how do I interject somebody else in that position that will either force their hand or take over the amount of reps that I'm going to give them and do it in a productive way. You know, because every opportunity is an opportunity, a door open, you know, in my opinion. And I think sometimes what happens with young players is opportunity presents itself and they're not ready. Mm-hmm. So you have to stay ready, and you got to be ready so you don't have to get ready. So if you're preparing each and every week, like your numbers may go up or the guy who you're backing up may get injured, then when you get in, you're ready to take the bull by the horns. And if that's the case, if these guys aren't stepping up, you know, then somebody else has got to do it. And they got to figure out a way to motivate those other guys while getting somebody more productive on the field.
What do you need to see when it comes to that run defense matching up against Alvin Kamara?
Well, here's what I don't want to see. I don't want to see Thomas Booker being a leading tackler among your D tackles when you have 2 first-round draft picks playing in the trenches. One of those guys has to be the leading tackler among your D tackles. I think they're going to bring a safety down in the box to try to stay with Alvin Kamara. The Eagles don't have a linebacker that can stay with him, and that's not a knock against the Eagles linebacking core in that regard. Very few linebackers can stay with the top running backs in the National Football League, but you're going to have to have an extra DB cover this guy. No questions about it. I don't want to see a multitude of missed tackles that we've seen like in the first 2 games. You know, you grown men, you played this game your whole lives. If nothing else, you should know how to tackle. You got to know how to tackle. You make it high 6- and 7-figure incomes, you got to know how to tackle, man. So I don't want to see that. I don't want to see holes big as I-95 and running backs running through them. You know, tighten it up, man. Gap control. Maintain your control. Force Derek Carr to do something that he doesn't want to do with the football. I don't want to look at the stat sheet and see another team has 150-plus yards rushing as the first 2 opponents did against your team.
I think that this is going to be another one of these chess matches, D-Gun. I mean, you began to see it last week with Vic Fangio. When he went to 5-man, the Falcons turned around and they threw the ball. Mm-hmm. When they got in 4-man, they turned around and they ran the ball. This chess match went on all game. I think you're probably going to see a little bit of that tonight. Today in this game, some of the same things. This constant chess match of what we should do in certain situations. But the way that New Orleans offense is structured, they can kind of do what they want to do because they're okay with going, 5, 6, 7, sometimes 8-man, protection and just sending 2 wide receivers out, and they'll catch you, especially when they're running the ball good and they go play action. They only send 2 guys out. Well, guess what? All you need is for one of those guys to win. Mm-hmm. And when Derek Carr is sitting behind, a 7, 8-man protection, guess what? He's going to have time. He's going to have time to throw the ball. So people need to watch the chess match that goes on in this game today.
All right,
depending on just to finish up, depending on what Vic throws at him, this is the point that I really wanted to make. Yeah. I think that, and this is the chess match to watch, I think that the Eagles are going to play a lot more dime this week than they have, okay? The problem with playing dime is that if I'm a quarterback and I look up and I see that DB in the box, to your point, guess what I'm doing? I'm checking to the run right now.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, two things that are revolving around Britton Covey, all right?
Who?
Yeah.
Who? Oh, okay. He better not get another 6-7 catches.
Okay, no. Who will have more targets today? Will it be Britton Covey or will it be Dallas Goedert? Seth, I'll ask you first.
Listen, it's still going to be Britton Covey, but it needs to be Dallas. Right?
It needs to be Dallas. Gunner, what say you?
I have to reiterate.
It's going to be Covey again.
Covey again.
Good Lord. All right, now let me follow up with this. All right, who will have more tackles today? Britton Covey or Bryce Huff?
Oh, man.
Because last week, for those that missed it, Britton Covey had more tackles last week than Bryce Huff. Seth, what do you say? With one, by the way. It was one.
I think that still might be the case.
Oh, good Lord. Okay. Gunner?
I'm going to say that Huff has taken so much guff over the last couple of weeks about being missing in action and in the witness protection program, that he's going to rise to the occasion today and may have 2 tackles, which will be 1 more than Covey.
Hope springs eternal, D.
Yes. I mean, I believe in Huff.
No, my thing is you either can pass rush and you either can play or you can't. All you got to do is look at the film. The eye in the sky don't lie.
Yeah, there you go. Film don't lie. Before we get to our predictions for today's matchup, there's an unfortunate passing in the NFL, something I know meant someone to you, of course, Seth Joyner. Mercury Morris passed away. His family notified the media just moments ago, as a matter of fact. When it comes to the career of a 2-time Super Bowl champion, a man that was a part of the perfect season, the only true perfect season of winning a Super Bowl with the 72 Dolphins, when you think of Mercury Morris, what do you think of?
I just think of an electric running back. I mean, it could do it all. Of course, he was part of the double-headed dragon of, him and Zonka together. So, I mean, he was a change of pace. But, man, you talk about a guy that was just electric. He'd get the ball in his hands and just he was the guy that could juke. I just remember growing up, I mean, I was like yay big, but he was like him and OJ was my mom's favorite running backs to watch. I mean, it's just, so it's a sad day. It's a sad day anytime, one of our NFL brethren passed away. But, that one caught me, off guard and by surprise.
Mm-hmm. You want to remember Mercury Morris, Gunner?
One of my favorite running backs coming up as a kid. I was always the kind of guy who liked the shiftier running backs. And he was one of those. I wasn't a Dolphins fan, but I'm always a fan of individual running backs historically, and he was one of my favorites coming up. So rest in peace, Mercury Morris, and condolences to your family.
Absolutely. Looking at this Eagles game today, I know we've talked about some things that could work for the Eagles. Seth has confidence in this Eagles secondary going up against this receiving core and Derek Carr. And I keep trying to remind myself when I'm trying to get to the optimism here and think about the Philadelphia Eagles winning a game, I try to keep remembering that Saquon Barkley catches that ball, and we're all thinking that this Eagles team is still bound for greatness this year. However, they probably could not have played at least the last 90 seconds of that game against the Falcons worse than they did, and that has us all, including myself, looking at it with some negative headspace. The constant has been their run defense, and there's no doubt that looking at that offensive output by the New Orleans Saints and Alvin Kamara, that is going to have a huge impact on this game. As everybody knows, the linebackers last week weren't great. Defensive line has consistently now in 2 weeks not been great. When I look at this game, I don't think the Saints are another 45-point output type team, but I do think they're going to get over the 30 mark. I look at the Saints winning this game today, unfortunately, 31-17 over the Philadelphia Eagles. Gunner, what are you looking at?
I don't think the Saints will put up a 40 spot on them, but I've been down in that Superdome too many times. Eagles historically have not had a lot of great success playing down there. Saints unfortunately have the home advantage here. That place is loud. I hate to say it, but I see the Saints pulling this one off 34-24.
34-24, Derrick Gunn. Seth Joyner, what say you?
Like I said before, I like to watch the lines just to see what Vegas is thinking and what people are doing and what people believe. And I just find it hard to believe that, that the New Orleans Saints are, 2.5-point favorite. Just normally being at home, you get three, but to be 2. So something is amiss here because, Vegas ain't giving away no money. And they know something that we don't know. Something's going on down there to make this line be this low after the output and the way that the defense is played down there. Sometimes guys, a loss like last Monday night is a blessing in disguise. And I know people like listen to what I'm saying and they're like, what are you talking about? Well, consider this. Last year, the Philadelphia Eagles stumbled through the first 11 weeks of the season. When everybody wanted to say that, the team, something was off and something was amiss and something wasn't right, all anybody wanted to hear was, but they're 10-1. They're 10-1. And then in week 12, the house of cards came tumbling down because they were in denial, in my opinion, for 11 weeks, the first 11 weeks of the season. I say that loss could be a blessing in disguise because maybe this is an opportunity for them to see their inefficiencies now. If they had won, they'd be the best thing since sliced bread, right? Oh, we're 2-0. We're number one in the division. We're in position, for the number one seed. We would disregard a lot of the things and a lot of the problems that face this football team. So maybe it's a good thing that it happened and it's early in the season that they can get some of these things corrected and then go forward and be the team that we want them to be. That being said, every single thing that the New Orleans Saints is good at, the Eagles aren't good at. Every single thing. I mean, defensively, they can't stop the run and they can't rush the passer. What are the Saints great at? They're great at running the ball, great at play action pass and throwing the ball down the field. On the offensive side of the ball, we're not a consistent run team, and we find ourselves in a lot of second and third and long situations, And what do they thrive in those opportunities, in those situations. They're gonna come with blitzes, they're gonna play man to man. Those are the things that we're not so efficient at. So in light of that, I'm sticking with my prediction. I don't know what's going on with Vegas and that 2.5 point line, but I've had the prediction that New Orleans would win this game. I don't think there's a way that they can go down there and win this game unless the Saints turn the ball over 4 or 5 times. That's just my opinion. Okay, I got the Saints winning this game 32-20.
32-20. Well, look at that. You and I spoke earlier in the week. You were kind enough to have me on your show. We were both hoping to be optimistic. It hadn't happened.
No.
That hadn't happened, unfortunately. Thank you very much for joining us here on the BetParks pregame show from Parks Casino in Bensalem, brought to you by Pond Lehocky. We'll be along, of course, after the Eagles. Hopefully we're all wrong. Take care of business against the New Orleans Saints today down there at the Superdome. As always, go Birds. Catch you guys in postgame.